Hello, friends. This is Rishi Gupta once again, and today we'll be talking about something exciting and probably an event that we had been anticipating from the first episode of Game of Thrones, The Long Night, Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3. So it was a great weekend for all of us pop culture fanatics, as you know, Avengers Endgame came out this weekend, and then on Monday morning in India, that was Game of Thrones, The Long Night. So it was an amazing episode. So let me state it outright. It's not that I don't have any problems with the episode. I do have a few problems, but on the whole, it was an amazing experience. So again, the director, the particular director that directed this episode, also directed Hardhome. So if you might remember the battle at Hardhome, wherein Jon and the Night King came face to face, and another one is Battle of Bastards. So I mean, the thing with battle sequences is that you have to be able to feel the dread that the people, the characters in the episode or in the scene are feeling, because it's very important to live the battle. That is when you kind of feel the anxiousness, feel the fear, feel the dread that at any moment in time you might die and everything will be lost. So having the ability to instill this kind of fear in your audience is extremely unique in the Long Night. So throughout the episode I was I had my heart in my mouth that what is going to happen, because it was truly an overwhelming episode. The dead were actually such a huge threat, and there were so many characters that you loved that were fighting them. So yeah, the dread was extremely real. I could actually feel the anxiousness building up in me, the fear that something bad might happen. And I actually, at one point in time, I thought that it was all over for the living, because the Night King was way too powerful. So I actually thought that this was done, and probably the Night King is going to be sitting on the Iron Throne or something like that. But fortunately that did not happen. So the episode had a few good moments, few precious moments, obviously. So let me just count down a few. So definitely the top would be Arya killing the Night King. So the thing was that when the Night King was facing Bran, and everyone was expecting him to probably kill Bran, I actually expected a twist, because yeah, you expected the Night King to die. That's what you expected, that the dead will ultimately be defeated. So I actually thought that the Night King is going to kneel in front of Bran, and there's going to be a twist, and you would find out that Bran is the one who's controlling the Night King or something like that, because they were kind of having a stare off. The Night King was staring at Bran for quite a long time. But that did not happen, and Arya kind of saved the day. So yeah, that was pretty cool, and the move that she used to kill the Night King was pretty cool. I think she had used this particular move with Brienne while practicing. So yeah, that was one of the cool moments in the episode. Second cool moment that I would like to list is definitely when the Red Woman, Melisandre, had some spell working and got the swords lit. It was a visual spectacle when all the swords caught on fire, and then the entire Dothraki horde was riding into the battle. Although yeah, they had a terrible ending, but still it was a beautiful sequence. So again, this brings me to one of the topics that I wanted to raise later in the review. But yes, the episode was extremely dark. So I personally had a very hard time figuring out what was happening, who was fighting whom, and which dragon was the good one, which dragon was the Night King's dragon. Yeah, it was pretty confusing. But then when I thought about it, especially when the first charge of the dead on the army, where everyone is standing, Brienne and Jaime and everyone is facing, and they're waiting for the army of the dead to kind of attack them. So that is when I thought that probably that's part of the dread, not knowing, not being able to see what's actually coming for you. So maybe that was the intention. But yeah, I mean, there was some difficulty in figuring out what was happening. But probably it's not a deal breaker for me, so I'll definitely not rate the episode badly because of that particular thing. So yeah, that particular thing happened. So apart from that, yeah, not too many special moments, I guess. I mean, yeah, there was one where Sansa and Tyrion kind of had figured figured out that they're going to be dead very soon, and they shared a moment. I think Tyrion held her hand and probably gave her a little kiss on the hand. So yeah, that was pretty precious because both of those characters had been through a lot, and a lot of stuff together as well and separately as well. So yeah, these are the few moments that kind of were the pretty and the sweet moments. Otherwise, it was all death. I mean, the dead were actually really scary because their sheer numbers were kind of overpowering everyone. So that brings me to one thing that I think it's on everyone's mind. So during the episode, while I was watching the episode, this thought did not cross my mind because I actually thought one of the major characters will die because the threat was so real, so overwhelming that I did not think everyone could survive this. But apparently, so this I realized after the episode that everyone had survived because while watching the episode, I was so caught up with what was happening on screen, I did not pay attention to that so everyone has survived and no one. No, it's not everyone, but yeah, the important characters, the frontline characters have survived. So that's yes, that's probably one disappointment after the episode I experienced that no one had died. George R.R. Martin, I think, would definitely be a bit disappointed with the makers of the episode because I'm sure, would have taken great pleasure in killing off one of the characters, or more than one of the characters that we love. So yes, that is definitely one takeaway, because there were many moments when I personally thought that a character was going to die. So if you might remember when Jon was alone on the field and the Night King kind of raised the army of the dead again, people who had died in battle. I thought there was no way Jon can survive this. But again, there was a rescue and Jon survived. He was fighting, he was rescued. So again, Jon has, many lives, it seems. And I think probably plot armor is the word. Most of the characters, the important characters, are wearing plot armor when they cannot be harmed. I mean, come on, Jaime was fighting with one hand, and he was unable to, give a decent fight. He was a great swordsman once when he had both of his hands, but he was fighting with his left hand, and still he survived. So yeah, Jaime, Brienne, there were quite a few people, so I thought might die. So there was a moment where Daenerys fell on the ground, and I thought that it was done. But again, Jorah Mormont showed up and he kind of saved her. So again, she was also saved. So I mean, yeah, you kind of made everyone survive. I actually thought at one point in time even the Hound would die because the Hound and Arya have had a love and hate relationship, mostly hate, not love. But yeah, it would have been fitting had the Hound died saving Arya. But ultimately, Beric Dondarrion, the guy with the flaming sword, died saving Arya. So I mean, I don't think anyone was much invested in Beric Dondarrion, but fine, yeah, he died. So yes, this is one thing that I think everyone is going to be talking about, and I personally also am talking about that no one died, which I think should not have happened. We should have had something to grieve as well. So at the end of the episode, I was shocked with the kind of death and destruction that had happened. I think most of the population of Winterfell has been wiped off. I think maybe 90% of the population, 95% of the population has been wiped off because there was so much of death and destruction. So I was shaken by it, but I was not grieving for anyone per se. So yeah, I mean, there are quite a few characters who died as well, but they were not the frontline characters. They were not the characters you were invested in so much. So Theon died again. So Theon, probably no one grieved. I did not grieve because his character arc was kind of complete. He had redeemed himself, and him dying, trying to save Bran was kind of fitting for him because I guess he was accused of killing, or he portrayed that he had killed Bran in the earlier episodes when he took over the castle of Winterfell. So yeah, Theon died, Beric Dondarrion died, again not too much invested in that. I don't think apart from that anyone died. Oh, sorry, Jorah Mormont, the Lord Friendzone, died saving Dany. Very fitting. I think that was a fitting end. I think that is how he would have liked to go had he been a real character, and he would have loved to give his life saving Daenerys. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And okay, so one character that I would like to talk about is the Red Woman. So Melisandre returned in the last episode. She had a dramatic entrance. She kind of lit up the trenches as well. But her death was pretty plain vanilla because I thought that she would go out in style, bursting into flames or doing something dramatic probably. So there was this theory that she was Nissa, and someone would draw a flaming sword from her chest. So this was his theory. So I thought that something dramatic would happen, but she kind of walked into the snow and she died pretty unceremoniously. So fair. I mean, she had her contribution in defeating the dead. She definitely, I think, guided Arya towards her destiny or her fate. She lit the swords, but that was not very beneficial. She lit the trenches. It held the dead for some time, but again, not very much very beneficial. So yeah, all in all, I had a great time watching that episode. Yeah, the darkness aside, the people who did not die aside, but the episode per se was extremely engrossing. I could feel the fear and anxiety of battle. And people who were in the crypt, people who were fighting and who were overwhelmed by the dead, I could feel the fear. So that was one thing that I really, really enjoyed about this particular episode. This was something similar to what happened in the Battle of the Bastards. So if you remember, there was this scene, there was this top view shot, the top shot wherein the camera is in the air, and you could see John trying to come out from the crowd and trying to draw a breath. That was the kind of difficulty, that there was a kind of battle that he was facing, that he could not even breathe. So that I remember feeling that dread, that helplessness of John myself, because that was so well shot, and you could actually see, you could actually feel what happens in real battles. So that communicating that emotion is very important in such sequences, and I think that is exactly what was done in this particular episode. That's why I rate this episode very high, not because of the plot holes, not because of the darkness or people not dying, but definitely because of the way it was able to convey the emotions that you were supposed to feel, and I actually felt those emotions pretty strongly. So that's why I'll rate this episode extremely high. It was a great episode. It was kind of the battle that we were building up to from episode 1. You had seen the White Walkers in episode 1, if I recall, and it was the phrase "winter is coming and the dead come with it." So the winter came, the dead came, and they were defeated, but definitely Winterfell has suffered many casualties in this particular war, and I really don't see how Daenerys is going to muster enough people to launch an attack on the south, on King's Landing, because Cersei is fresh, her army is fresh, they are not battle worn, and they are in great numbers. So Dany has 2 dragons, again both of the dragons survived, so that is advantage that she has. But again, we have seen that dragons are susceptible to weapons. So the great weapon that was made by the Lannisters, which was wielded by Bronn, I mean, there was this big bow and arrow that was being fired at the dragons, so they are susceptible to weapons. So I don't know how far will the dragons take Daenerys in terms of defeating Cersei. So I do hope she defeats Cersei, and the way things are going, we are not in for surprises. I actually thought this particular episode would throw some surprises in our face. Bran is the Night King, or the Night King is being controlled by Bran, or something like that. Anything that we are not expecting, but nothing like that happened. So maybe it's not the season for surprises, and it might be a straightforward battle where we might lose a couple of characters, but ultimately Cersei will be defeated in the battle. That's where this season is going, it seems. So let's hope for great 3 episodes. 3 episodes are remaining. That will be the end of one of the finest series on television, which is Game of Thrones. Let's hope it is great. I'll be definitely expecting some great things out of it, and we'll be talking about it next week as well. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Please do subscribe to my channel, like the video, share the video, and that will help me and encourage me a lot. Thank you so much.